Uh, uh, okay, I thought I have nothing to talk about today, but once I hit the recording button of the camera, or just right before when I thought about taking a video, I um, came up with ideas of what I'm gonna talk or what I'm gonna organize by talking about them. This morning, yesterday, in the evening, I got my new SIM card. I think it was yesterday, and I tried, and it didn't work simply. So I emailed Moose Mobile about it. Then they sent me more detailed setting for Android. I did it, and I also googled by myself the setting of Optus Mobile, and then I combined those information together to make the SIM card actually work, and it did. For the mobile data, I can use it, but for the phone call, I cannot still use it. So tomorrow, I'm going to borrow a phone of Auto-san, because because he has already activated his iPhone. Was just easy. It was easy to activate iPhone with the new SIM. So I'm gonna borrow his phone, and it's unlimited. The domestic call is unlimited, so I'm gonna borrow his phone, and I'm gonna beg the favor. I'm gonna beg him his favor. Is this English? Is this English correct? I don't know. So that was about my phone, and I think I'm almost done with this problem. Yes. And another thing I was gonna talk about, is the balance between developing technology and thinking about balance between development and the production of the knowledge. It's kind of, I think what I'm gonna talk now from now on is more concrete ideas of balancing fundamental applied science and the fundamental science, the basic research. So in my daily life, I like technology, especially the programming, although I haven't done much before. I haven't done much yet. Today I joined the meeting where one of my friends presented his own experience to us, to me, and also other members of the Google Development Student Club, or yes, other people. And I got motivated again to do some programming, because I think the reason why I had not been motivated to do programming was that uh, it had been pretty busy to do that. Programming for me is a little bit luxury doing, because if I start doing it, it takes me time to stop. So that is like a steroid or kind of drug for me to do programming. But now I have the motivation. That means motivation to do programming. That means I have a little bit time to spare, and which means I'm a little bit getting used to, or getting settled down, feet on my ground, getting my feet on the ground to do my stuff. And that was about the development. And I would like to develop the system that people can utilize. So I want to be the one, not one who do not use something that others made, but the one who have others use what I made. Yeah, trying to be that kind of, trying to make that kind of thing. Anyways, so that was the motivation about the developing something. And my another motivation, which is on the other side of the seesaw, maybe it's not the other side. It's not like 180-degree other side. It might not be just two-way seesaw. It might be 360 dimension like seesaw. But anyways, for now I think on the other side, other hand or side, there is a motivation to dig up, to synthesize concepts, generalized ideas, to come up with the new point of view, kind of. It is very vague expression to talk what I'm thinking. So the reason why I'm talking about this, digging up new concept, is that I guess science is not the only. Science alone cannot solve everything. But if the science is enough to solve problem, science is very strong method to solve the problem. But to some degree, for now, science cannot be enough. Therefore, what is called non-science fields try to alter or try to, in a simple way, try to alter the power of science by using seemingly non-science method. And that is, I guess, humanity, or from what I heard, by referring to what I heard from the professor of the Macquarie University. He said humanities or human lens. I think science is human lens, also human lens. But the easier way to say that science is not strong, cannot be always strong enough, cannot necessarily be strong enough to solve the problem. So non-science method alter the power of science. But maybe it's not just the alternative, but it is the different way. So if it is just the alteration of, if it is this is the enough part that science can cover, and this is not the enough part that science cannot cover. If this part is just covered by the alteration of science, if the time goes in the future, this having acknowledged that science will develop, science can only develop, this ratio becomes more like this and this and this, if this method is just an alternative of what science cannot fulfill. But by changing the point of view a little bit, let's say this is not something different. This is not even something that science can eventually cover. This part cannot be solved by science in any ways. And I guess that kind of things exist because humans have lived, I don't know, so many years, and we do have the faculties that deal with at the college, at university, we do have faculties that deal with this part which science will never be able to solve, even if the time goes infinity, by infinity. I'm trying to keep myself on the track. I try not to let myself lost in my own thoughts. So this part is what I'm especially keen to study at Macquarie University. For example, indigenous study. Indigenous people are pretty logical, in my opinion. I went to the Macquarie University's History Museum, where I got this. It's not certification. It's just this is a list of questions that visitors to the museum can try to solve, and I tried everything and I couldn't find just one question. I left one question, but I'm gonna tweet the answer by with the Macquarie Museum. So anyways, so I thought indigenous people had time to think more logically to make something. They had time, and I guess they couldn't. So indigenous people are, I guess, pretty much logical. So, but sometimes spiritual. So I think science can study indigenous people in scientific way pretty easily to some degree, because they cannot just randomly combine things to make something. For example, in my opinion, they didn't have enough already made concept to make something by combining it. We now have so many concepts already which are already proved or proved, like in scientific way it's more likely to be true. So like gravity and the like a theory of laws of something. So if we just theoretically combine this law and this law, it should make this law, and it happened to be successful. So that is what human can do, because we know that very rather solid theory or laws based on the basis. But indigenous people didn't have much basic laws like available to them, so they had to think to make something logical in the first place. They couldn't have just two things theoretically possible to make. They had to make something from the beginning logically. So I guess like making pot, they needed to, but in scientific study it is very fancy, but combining two like physics laws to make something is as much complicated or as much simple as combining water and clay to make pod. If so, indigenous people are just as logical as the modern scientific people. So that's why I think indigenous study can be quite scientific, because they had to be logical to survive. But on the other hand, they do have some spiritual, not tangible stuff, and that is where I am interested in. They do have some logical thinking, but they did rely, or they are still relying on the part that science will probably never be able to cover up this one. So this is interesting, and I'm hoping, this is my hope, that the if we can bridge that logical part with the part that scientific logics can never be able to explain, if we somehow connect or communicate these two parts together, it becomes very powerful, and it's interesting to exercise out. It becomes a powerful tool to solve the problems in society. My face becomes suddenly sober, like serious face. Yes, because there are some things that people just don't think science can solve, and that kind of problem is quite similar to the indigenous people's spiritual thinking, maybe, because both of them cannot be explained by science. Okay, religion, like some people believe in it. It's not scientifically, for now, not correct, but some people believe in it. And if that religion and science has a conflict, this problem would never be solved. This conflict will never be solved unless we have some kind of compromises between them, or compromises, concession, acknowledgement. And the problem, problem will never be solved completely, I guess. If so, probably it's not human. I don't know. If all problems are solved, that is not human. We are destined to have problem, I think. But we try to solve the problem, because as much problem as we solve is what makes kind of human beings worthy, not just dying for the problem, but try to solve the problem. And that is how we can value human beings, I guess. So to sum up, I think studying indigenous people is pretty shortcut, effective. Let's say effective way to study what is science, which means what is rigid, logical, and what is not logical, or what is logical but what is not logical in a way that science explains. If we somehow, and indigenous people, they lived in harmony with both of them, logical part and not the logical part, and the part that is logical as the other logical part. So that harmony between them, having those two in harmony with each other, this is very interesting situation happening. Oh, it's 24 minutes. It has been 24 minutes. Yes, it's getting a bit interesting. So I was also talking about the balance between developing idea and the development of technology, and the idea development, like digging up concept, as I've been talking about indigenous study. I think I try to do both. I know it is it can be too much. Anything can be too much. I know that it is I can't think of the word. It is too much wanting. Greedy. Yes, greedy. A bit greedy. But if I can balance it enough, I can do it. And I can even do both of them together. And if that could happen, it's gonna be so much fun, so much fun. If I can integrate those two, it's gonna be so much fun. And I'm about to, as I talk, I organize my brain. So I'm gonna, I think it is a good idea to create technology that help me to develop more idea and help me to dig up the mechanisms of how indigenous people live in harmony with both logical and the other part. This is it. I have only about 4 hours left in this memory, which is micro SD card, 64 gigabytes. So after uploading this YouTube video, this one on YouTube, I can delete some contents from the micro USB. This is it. Haha, good night.